Hi, my name is Edie Arachiga, and my presentation will be covering Chapter 8, Development. The three concepts I will be talking about are conception, social development, and cognitive development. Conception is the process of fertilization in which a child is produced. When a female and male have intercourse, roughly 250 million sperm cells are released by the male, and the sperm journeys through the female cervix into one of the fallopian tubes where conception usually takes place. During this process, roughly only about 200 to 500 reach the ovum. The first one there is the winner. Conception occurs when the winning sperm makes it into the egg. With conception, prenatal development begins to unfold. Prenatal development is usually divided into 3 periods, the first one being the germinal period. This period lasts about 2 weeks from conception and the formation of the zygote. The zygote then multiplies and forms a blastocyst. The blastocyst then makes its way through the fallopian tubes and attaches itself to the uterine lining. The second period of prenatal development is the period of the embryo. This lasts about into the 8th week of pregnancy. During these brief 6 weeks, the most rapid prenatal changes take place as the groundwork is laid for all body structures and internal organs. The final period in prenatal development is the period of the fetus. This is the longest prenatal period since it lasts from the 9th week up until the end of pregnancy. During this time, the organism increases rapidly in size and develops. Around the 38-week mark, birth is given. Erik Erikson created a theory that identifies a series of 8 stages that a healthy individual should pass through from infancy to adulthood. This is Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. Each stage builds upon successful completion of earlier stages. Stage 1 is trust versus mistrust. In this stage, infants are uncertain towards the world. Therefore, they look to their primary caregivers for stability. If the stability given is consistent and reliable, then a sense of trust is built. This will lead to hope, where an infant knows that should a problem arise, a solution is possible. Failure in this stage can mean the development of fear. Stage 2 is autonomy versus shame. This stage focuses on willpower. During this stage, the child is physically developing and becoming more mobile. Erikson states that it is important for a parent to allow a child to explore their limits and be tolerant to failures. This allows a child to become independent and confident. If a balance is not found, a child can lack in self-esteem and feel shame and doubt in their own abilities. Stage 3 is initiative versus guilt. In this stage, a child finds purpose. This is the stage in which a child initiates activity with others and develops a sense of initiative. When the child oversteps boundaries, it is important for the parent to right their child's wrongs to develop self-control. Although if a healthy balance is not found and too much criticism is given to the child, they develop guilt instead, which can inhibit their creativity. Stage 4, industry versus inferiority. It is in this stage where a child's peers will become a major source of their self-esteem. The child seeks approval. If their actions gain that approval, they develop a sense of competence. If the child cannot develop a specific skill his or her peers demand, then they develop a sense of inferiority. Stage 5 is identity versus role confusion. During this stage, adolescents search for a sense of personal and self-identity through intense exploration. This stage helps an adolescent recognize the role he or she will lead in adulthood. Success in this stage leads to fidelity, being able to commit oneself to others on the basis of accepting others. Failure to establish a sense of identity leads to role confusion in regard to their place in society. Stage 6, intimacy versus isolation. In this stage, adults start to share themselves more intimately. Relationships leading toward long-term commitments are explored. Successful completion of this stage leads to love, whereas avoiding intimacy can lead to isolation. Stage 7, generativity versus stagnation. During this mid-adulthood stage, everything becomes settled down and a sense of being a part of the big picture is established. Giving back to society in form of raising children, being productive at work, and helping the community establishes care and generativity. Failure in this stage makes you become stagnant and feel unproductive. The final stage in Erikson's psychosocial theory is stage 8, ego integrity versus despair. In this stage, adults explore life as a retired person. They contemplate their accomplishments and develop integrity if they believe that they lived a successful life. Erikson believed that if an adult looked back onto their lives and felt dissatisfied, they developed despair, which often leads to depression and hopelessness. Success in this stage leads to wisdom, to allow a sense of completeness and possibly accept death without fear. Back then, people believed that children were basically mini adults. It wasn't until Jean Piaget discovered his cognitive development theory that people's perspective shifted. Swiss theorist Jean Piaget inspired a vision of children as busy, motivated explorers whose thinking develops as they act directly on the environment. Influenced by his background in biology, Piaget believed that the child's mind forms and modifies psychological structures so they achieve a better fit with external reality. During these stages, all aspects of cognition develop in an integrated fashion, changing in a similar way at about the same time. The first stage in Piaget's cognitive development theory is the sensory-motor stage. This stage spans the first 2 years of life. Piaget believed that infants and toddlers think with their hands, ears, and eyes, and other sensory-motor equipment. They cannot yet carry out many activities inside their heads. Here is a clip of my niece, Clayton, and she is trying to solve some puzzles. I gave her some toys to see if she could do it, and she kind of gets the idea, but she really can't do it. She learns by doing and has a primitive understanding of cause and effect, but she can't seem to really figure it out, which is normal for her stage. This is Bo, Clayton's older brother. He is 3 years old, therefore he is in his pre-operational stage. This stage spans the years 2 to 7. The most obvious change is an extraordinary increase in the representational or symbolic activity. Bo uses language and symbols, like shapes, to figure things out. He doesn't quite get it, but he gets it better than Clayton does. Here we have Bo and Clayton's oldest sibling, Daryl. He is 8 years old, therefore he is in his concrete operational stage. This stage extends from about 7 to 11 years of age. Compared with early childhood, thought is more logical, flexible, and organized. You can't hear, but he was using the rainbow to get the hoops on the pole. He has learned rules and applies them to what he does. Lastly, this is my oldest sister, Nadia. She is in her formal operational thought. She uses logic, reasoning, classification, therefore she finished the puzzle very quickly.